Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Wednesday Night Modern at MTG Card Market. I'm Matthew Cartier, joined here in the booth by Pt.1, and it's new Modern.
It is. A lot of exciting things that are coming out of new Modern format.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple people I know, at least tonight, and as Ross Merriam wrote in his daily digest for Star City Games recently, that think Esper is going to be the new deck to beat in this format.
Right, we didn't see much of it at SCG this last weekend, but, the format is brand new. A lot of people wanted next level each other, so, there's a lot of Tron and Eldrazi, infecting the field this weekend, but it should be interesting tonight. A lot of people are testing out some brews, some people are, playing their old tried and trues. We get a good sampling of the meta here.
Yeah, and I mean, and along with New Modern, there's also, secondarily New Standard to talk about. You went to Columbus. It went-ish, from what I heard.
That seems accurate, yes.
Okay. But yeah, the new world ruled by walking ballista, apparently, and the snake.
Yeah,
that slippery snake winding constrictor.
Yeah, a little surprising. I know a lot of people definitely were aware of the cat deck. Then the deck kind of built itself too. You just put in just kind of control shell. All the pieces.
Torrential Gearhawks.
You glimmer a bit. It's like the deck built itself. So that was, obviously a deck that was going to be, ever present. And the fact that, a lot of the notables played different decks is,
right.
Somewhat surprising.
Well, I mean, I think, again, it's at the start of a new standard, people are really trying to next level each other. And Brennan DeCandio, the guy who won the Open, appears to have just next leveled the entire SCG field. His black-green aggro build was just pretty disgusting. We'll put it simply, turn 2 Constrictor into Rishkar or Ballista on turn 3 and 4 is just what's happening?
You can definitely punish the control decks for kind of spinning their wheels for the first couple of turns.
Right.
But talking to people who did top 8, a lot of them did mention that I was like, oh, this card was great for week 1. But
right.
may not be good going forward, and that's the case for a lot of these new formats. What works in the first tournament may very well just not actually even be good.
Right. I mean, there's been a lot of standards where it's been first couple weeks happen and everyone's like, oh, this is good. Then Pro Tour happens, and then it takes even a little bit longer. Right. This most recent standard with Emrakul is what's the best Emrakul deck, and then at the Pro Tour, people are playing, or what's the best Aetherworks Marvel deck is the one I'm thinking of. People, were playing just these terrible Aetherworks Marvel decks, but then they figured it out, and then Wizards banned Emrakul.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. If you look at the last Pro Tour, a lot of the major teams thought they broke it with Marvel, and then they all just got wrecked by
control
all the
decks,
torrential decks, and it did take some time. I was like, oh, we can't be an all-in deck because we just lose to any counter spell.
Watching the games of Matt Nass on Rug Energy or Rug Marvel against Shota is just oh, he has counter spell here. Cool, this game's over.
It's just it's not possible to resolve any of the Marvels, so it's just
yeah.
But yeah, the deck adapted. The one that we ended up before the ban, could certainly play a long game, but also had busted turn 4s. And, you could just start hardcasting a lot of these things because it was kind of a pseudo-delirium deck on top of that.
And, I mean, people are going to be looking to innovate the same way in Modern. The new Fatal Push coming in is going to change up a lot of removal suites. I know some people are playing it in Jund over various things. Obviously, Grixis Delver and Grixis Control have options. And, like we mentioned earlier, Esper. So we're going to throw it down to the play screen here. So we've got on the left, we've got Greg Pino. He's playing
Cheerios,
the SRAM Pure Steel Paladin deck, enabled by this guy, SRAM. Nope, not that guy.
Other SRAM.
SRAM, space should do it. SRAM Senior Artificer. This guy, whenever you cast an equipment spell, and it is only equipment spells that are happening, you get to draw a card. This guy.
SRAM does trigger on other things. You do have options.
Yeah, but for the sake of this, for this deck, we're just going to assume that it's only equipments. Basically, what the deck is trying to do is play a bunch of 0-mana equipments in the same turn, and eventually grape shot your opponent for Lethal Storm.
Right. And then part of the way you do that is every time you play one of these equipments, you draw a card. You're trying to draw into the 1 mana blue spell that returns all your artifacts. So you can recast everything.
Right. Yeah. Once you that blue spell is Retract. I was reading recently Zach Elsick, known as the guy who really did a lot of work on Lantern Control to bring it to prominence. Did very well in the Swiss, at least, of an SCG IQ. With the deck, and is very much
yeah, I think Ken is on TitanShift here.
Okay. Zach Elsick did very well in a recent IQ with the deck, so people have started to pick it up. Although I looked at Greg's list before the match today, and he's much more all in on the combo than other people would be.
Yeah, Greg is running 10 lands.
Oh. What? 10
lands.
But
it's not very many.
That's... How do you cast SRAM? Or, more importantly, how do you cast Pure Steel Paladin?
I am not entirely sure. But,
Whew! I saw Simian Spirit Guides. I didn't realize we were on 10 lands. But yeah, Zach Elsick's list is not this all in.
I think he runs 16.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Like, we can almost assuredly go find it at some point. But, yeah, this deck seems like one that beats itself just as much as it wins on its own. He's got a Gemstone Mine and a Spirit Guide in hand, so that seems good.
So, we do have the turn 1... Well, it's not the turn 1 draw, right? Turn 2 draw? Maybe?
We'll see. Ken is going to start off with a Suspended Search for tomorrow, so... And the thing is, right, is that, like, Ken is fast, but Greg is much faster. Like, probably 2 turns faster. So here we see, gonna exile a Spirit Guide, tick down that Gemstone Mine, and put a turn 1 SRAM into play. Oh my god. So he's just gonna do it now. So he's just gonna start casting 0 mana artifacts to draw cards. We're on... Okay, so he says, fine. Like, I've had enough for this turn, drawing some cards. Go ahead. Jeez.
So Ken, the Valakut decks, a lot of them cut the Pyroclasms and cards like that. So if Ken doesn't have exactly Bolt right here, I mean, at worst, Greg can just equip the SRAM and attack with it.
Right. I mean, at some point you're beating down with a Kite Shield. I don't know if those actually give power, though. Please don't make me Google Spider Silk Net.
But, I mean, at a certain point, it's just going to be unkillable.
It's +0/+2. And, yeah, okay, so Ken here looks like he went for a Fetch Shock into... Fetch Shock into an Explore, which will let him draw a card and play another land. So, really getting out ahead on land so far. He'll sacrifice another land here, going down to 15. And, like, the life total isn't irrelevant because this is, like, a non-deterministic Storm deck, right? So, like, right. Greg is really going to be looking for, like, SRAM hit you to 13, try to storm you out sort of plays.
Sure. Well, this Storm deck is also different in that, normally when the deck is trying to cast Grape Shot, you can cast Grape Shot for, like, arbitrarily large amounts.
No, this deck
is very much constrained, and you like...
Yeah. Also, Kite Shield costs mana to equip. Like, there's no way... Oh, I think he drew a Mox Opal, though, which is really big, actually. So he has the Grape Shot in hand, Greg does. So what he's really looking for is, like, a Retract or 2.
Yeah, or even just, just any equipment.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he has equipment.
Yeah, the equipment very easily can chain into it, so...
Yeah, so here's another Gemstone Mine. Attack you, put you to 13 with the SRAM, which is just a bear. Like, it's just a bear. Seems fine. 2 mana, play a... Oh, okay, now we're really going off. Cast a Mox Opal. So, Greg is going to make his creatures bolt-proof, and then he's going to cast...
a Wild Cantor.
Wild Cantor, okay. Which
is effectively a Lotus Petal on a body.
Okay. So the thing is, though, is that Greg is out of equipments, right? Like, he's not... he needs like okay. Once Greg starts playing equipments, he's gonna draw two cards in equipment, and I think the game is over.
Yeah,
but he needs to start the chain somewhere.
Yeah, and I think half the deck is a live draw, right? Because because once he starts drawing, that'll draw him into more stuff. But if he misses here, I think he loses the game.
Okay, well, he drew a Kite Shield, so trigger. I'm going to draw cards. Also, Ken is at 9 here. Ken is at 11 here, effectively. From the and Storm Count is...
Currently 2.
2? Okay, yeah, so we're going to get the dice out for Storm Count. Thank you.
It looks like Greg in those draws hit a SRAM.
He's going to Faithless Looting, though, so Storm Count is 3.
Yeah, it looks like he hit a SRAM and a Grape Shot.
Okay, so I mean he'll pitch 2 extra Strams actually to that, but then he'll play a Cathar's Shield, draw 2, Ken kindly manipulating the Storm dice for him. We're at Storm 6, Paradise Mantle, double draw, and all Greg has 1 more mana worth of spells that he can. Okay, he can also play a Seachrome Coast and do things. He has the Retract. Okay.
Yeah, he has the Retract. So
this game is over.
Yeah, he's going to probably hit the.
Oh, he plays another Paladin first, for disgusting, sick, nasty plays.
Okay, so Greg currently has draw I think like 18 in hand.
Right, I mean, the game is over, right? Like, he just replays the Mox Opal and sacks the Cantor, and that Grape Shot's for lethal, right?
Right. You know what I mean? Even the worst possible draws in Greg's deck.
Every card other than the Mox Opal you see face up represents draw 3 cards.
Yeah, and the Mox Opal is still...
This is crazy. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing with this deck, though, is like, before SRAM got printed, the Pure Steel Paladin alone generally wasn't enough.
So there are routes to like losing this game. You can miscount and accidentally deck yourself.
Also, Pure Steel Paladin is a May though, so no, you don't necessarily have to do that.
SRAM is not a May though. I don't.
SRAM is not. But Greg is gonna activate a Mox Opal, play a Mox Opal, and cast Grape Shot, target Ken. Ken says, "All right, I guess," and that's what I'm saying, right? So like the next turn, Ken had. Sakura Tribe Elder into Primeval Titan.
No, he just had land drop into Primeval Titan.
Yeah, land drop Primeval, Sakura Tribe Elder, and Colony Heart Expedition.
Yeah, so like
he would have probably
Well, Ken might not have 20 next turn, but he would at the very least clear out all of the nonsense on the field.
Right, he'd kill all the engine pieces, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, how. And we're gonna call this all in Cheerios on the screen because like I didn't realize just how all in this was, but it's pretty all in.
Well, and yeah, we saw there. Greg really only had 1 draw to like hit a 50%. Yeah. I mean, admittedly, it's a 50%, right? Like most of this deck is a live draw, but
just the amount of. Yeah, and the fact that like he had enough mana to then to play a 3rd Paladin is kind of nutty.
Right. Well, again, like this is the Valakut deck being a little bit punished for
not playing removal.
Right. Its current main deck configuration is extremely streamlined, and as a result, you can lose to like nonsense like this. Whereas before, I mean, imagine how good like a Pyroclasm would have been in there,
or just Bolt,
just
like Bolt the SRAM the turn. Like if they go turn 1 SRAM and you go turn 1 Bolt, they're like that hand does nothing for literally the rest of time.
Exactly.
You go turn 1 SRAM, they go turn 1 SRAM. Like yeah, they Spirit Guided for SRAM. You go turn 1 Fatal Push out of like a different fair deck like. I think that the Cheerios deck obviously got way better because SRAM got printed, but also got worse in that like maybe the format slowed down and people are trying to play more fair.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how the Cheerios deck wins against any removal. Right, because if you play against a Jeskai deck or a Jund deck, it's very likely that you have several pieces of removal in hand.
I mean, you're not wrong. It basically you sideboard like Dispel Swan Song nonsense, but also you can you just have to wait until later. Like you have to be able to like play your Pure Steel Paladin and a counter spell, or play your SRAM And sometimes you just have to go for it, right? Like if the Jund player ever taps out to play a Lily, you're like, play Paladin and just try to draw and kill you.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
I mean, it's just like then if you're Jund, you don't tap out, blah, 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 that sort of thing. But like, this is... Greg's version, I think, is much like... Suffers from this problem much more than like the Zach Elsick Cheerios, shall we say. Because Zach Elsick Cheerios, like, doesn't play Gemstone Mine or Spirit Guide, like, is not trying to, you know, win on turn 2 or 3. Whereas... Greg very clearly has no intention of games going past turn 4, so...
Right. And, yeah.
And he was on a Mull to 6, too.
Yeah, but the mulligans, you know, for this deck don't really matter as much, right?
You just have to have one of the engine pieces.
Yeah, you're looking for a couple very specific pieces.
He's got Gemstone Mine, Faithless Looting. Yeah, the thing with this deck is, like, you cannot... Even though you have, like, 8, shall we say, like, engine pieces with the Srams and the Paladins... You cannot keep hands that don't have them. Because what if all 8 of them are your 8 bottom cards, right?
And the thing is, you don't have a redraw in this deck either. Like,
I mean, he has Faithless.
Okay, sure, you have Faithless.
But, like, I don't disagree with you. Like,
you don't have cards like, you know, like...
Serum Visions.
Serum Visions in effect, or at least, like, what they used to run Serum Visions. I guess they might, again, without Get Pro, but...
You gotta wonder if that'll be... Or they'll just go, like, 4 Vines, 4 Blossoming, just fill the slots out. Do you actually? That's an interesting question. What do you think about that?
I mean, I like Serum Visions. It just there are a lot of games that in fact they can stall out.
You go to the 3rd breeding pool then too.
Probably.
Okay.
Else you only have 6 blue sources in the deck, 4 of which are creatures.
No, because all your fetches are blue sources.
Yeah, but not really blue sources, right?
Yeah, you just fetch breeding pool. All your fetches get breeding pool, dude. Like,
I'm talking like permanent sources.
Oh yeah, sources that actually make blue mana. Sure. Yeah. All right, we'll put Ken to 17 here as he plays. Ken has a Bolt in hand, which is like somewhat problematic for Greg's deck. I like you were saying, like I don't think he beats the card Lightning Bolt, but we'll find out. Ken's gonna draw. I think he finds a Cinderglade. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think he even has the option to be able to play a Sakura Tribe on 2 anyways.
Yeah.
So just gonna pass it here.
Draws a SRAM here for Greg. Wow.
Forbidden Orchard.
That is some... Oh.
Into Defense Matrix. Ooh.
Defense Grid, yeah.
Defense Grid.
Okay, so this card, the only reason I know Defense Grid is because I play Vintage... my friend plays Vintage online a fair bit, and he plays it because Vintage is degenerate. And, yeah, Defense Grid just basically says your opponents are probably not casting spells here, but, like, if Ken leaves up 4 mana, he can just pay and cast Bolt on Greg's turn. Also, Forbidden Orchard is, like, wow, that's also a card that you really only see in Vintage decks, and only specifically for Oath of Druids.
Right. The giving your opponent a 1/1, spirit.
It matters.
That's a big cost here. Funny enough, this is... Ken can just play the mountain and leave up 4.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying is he should... Oh, no, Ken, it's a trap.
Here
we go.
So here's the thing. If he goes for that line, he's pricing himself into doing that for the rest of the game.
I don't disagree with you.
So I like this card.
I mean, Gemstone Mine plays SRAM. Let's win the game right now. Man, Greg Pino, what a dude. Sometimes he comes with, like, Grixis, reanimate my Kiki Jiki with Goryo's Vengeance type of thing. Oh, man. He plays another Defense Grid, so, like, Ken is not doing anything ever on Greg's turn. I think next turn Greg goes for it. Unless Ken leaves up 5 mana. See, I would have been tempted to maybe go for it there if I were Greg.
Yeah, because, like, Ken can't do anything about it. Greg might not have enough in hand to actually go for it.
I guess Benjamin Barry, some Storm decks probably did at some point play with Orchard. I just am too young in the world of Magic to remember that. But, I mean... It's not the worst, but, like, also, hello. Okay, so Ken here, that's so good. And this is why... Oh, this is so good. Oh, my God.
Engineered Explosives
for
2. Wow.
How do you beat this one, Greg?
Yeah, this one's pretty rough. That's one way of getting around Defense Grid. Oh, fun fact. Also gets the Defense Grids.
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, it not only... Ken can blow the... Oh, here we go. I mean, Greg just has to run into this with the SRAM, right?
Yeah.
SRAM on the stack says fine resolves. He's
Right.
going to play a 0-mana equipment and say... All right, so he is going to get the trigger and draw a card from what he played.
Right,
but he's going to get 3 for 1 by the explosives. So he needs to come up with another thing, and it doesn't look like he has one. I mean, he can always play like a Simian Spirit Guide, and just like beat.
But I think if we do that, we're
I mean, what else are you doing?
Firmly losing the game.
I mean, yes, this game is currently being lost by the all-in Cheerios player, but like, there's not a lot.
Ken is also very close to turning on this Valakut. The next mountain will have a trigger.
Ooh, yeah, that's when it gets hard. Greg draws a Faithless Looting though, so like, not all hope is lost.
Mm-hmm. But so this, like with the mana base, this is also tricky, right? He's either gonna have to
sack his Gemstone Miner, double the clock.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta double the clock, right? Like. We're not playing Forbidden Orchard because we're scared of them with spirits. Right?
Good point, Dan. Never be afraid. Good motto.
Discarding another.
Draws another SRAM though. Okay, here we go. I mean, Ken has the bolt, so again, Greg is going to be real sad momentarily. Trigger. Ken says on the stack, bolt your SRAM. Greg says okay, draw a card. You know, draws another Gemstone Mine. So like now he has flashback Faithless Looting.
Yeah, I'm not like thrilled about that, but you know, you do what you gotta do. And it's not like he's under any like major clock.
It's just 2 a turn, right?
Ken proceeds to immediately draw another bolt.
Oh, disgusting. Yeah, so this is getting pretty hard for Greg.
Yeah, so Ken also needs to decide, does he want to play this mountain or wait for it to actually hit something? And it looks like he's oh, he did play it.
But did he realize that he had a trigger? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
So now the spirits get a little bit good. Another so the flashback Faithless Looting, yikes. Retract. Hey, Pure Steel Paladin's in there. Like, this is in no way. I mean, Ken has another bolt, right?
Yeah, but for, I mean, from Greg's perspective,
you have to just do
exactly what you're looking for, right?
Oh no, I mean you can't.
Pure Steel into Retract and then hope to continue from there.
He discards a Retract though, keeping it Pure Steel and stuff. I didn't see what else he kept.
Okay.
Untap from Ken in the draw. Oh, it's Primeval Titan. First attack you for 3.
Put you to 12. Here's a Primeval Titan. We're gonna get 2 Valakuts.
I mean, if we get 2 Valakuts right, then you just play a oh no, it's no. So this is gonna do 6.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna do it's 9.
Don't forget when Ken played the Cinderglade earlier.
Yeah.
He got the ball.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so Greg is going to lose that one. So these players are tied at 1-1. One combo deck versus another. Ken just bolt their SRAMs.
Yeah, Bolt is great. We saw him board in also Sudden Shocks as well.
I mean, same thing, right? Like,
yeah, which effectively is going to just be the same thing.
I mean, the real dream for Greg would be to like get a Pure Steel Paladin out and also equip it with like a Kite Shield or something, and then it's a 2/5.
Yeah, well, I mean, so Greg's gonna be on a play in this game, and it's
right.
Much better for him because like now he has the turn 1 win available to him.
Yeah, I mean the turn 1 isn't out of the question because none of his spells that draw him cards cost any mana. So like if he goes like turn 1, Seachrome Coast, Spirit Guide, SRAM,
then just play a bunch of artifacts.
Then yeah, I mean then assuming the rest of your hand is 4 artifacts, then you draw 4, and you can maybe keep going off, right? Like it's not
unthinkable.
It's not, I mean the turn 1, I think the turn 2, like the turn 1 engine piece, turn 2 attempt to win is probably a little bit safer, just because you have mana to like cast Grape Shot if you don't draw your Mox Opals and stuff. But theoretically, this deck could just go for it turn 1 and get there.
Right. And even if you don't necessarily have to get there, if you manage to hit like an Opal and a Retract, all of a sudden just like,
Right, I mean, Opal Retract is the dream, right? Because then you just get to draw all those cards again.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is... And so I'm not sure what Greg's doing with the sideboard, because frankly, I have no idea what's in his sideboard, but I'd imagine Ken has kept things pretty similar from game 1 and is going to just
Yeah.
Hope he draws enough lightning
Well, let's
bolts.
not forget, like, part of the reason why Greg's draw game 1 was so anemic is because he hit double defense grid, right?
You mean game 2?
Game 2. And that might be something that Greg's considering, is like, do I care about these defense grids?
Yeah, the thing with the defense grid is, like, your stuff's probably getting bolted anyways.
Yeah, he's going to have a rough time beating Bolt as is, and that's the case. And, Ken, doesn't have a whole lot of Bolt effects. Maybe you just,
Ken has probably like 5 or 6.
Right.
As well as like Anger the Gods, which doesn't matter because it's on his turn anyways. I mean, I think the play for Greg has to be the turn you play your engine, you're going off.
Mm-hmm.
But it also can't be when Ken plays a Primeval Titan.
Right. And you do have a couple of turns. Like Ken's, I think, fastest Primeval is turn 4.
Turn 4 Primeval Titan, yeah, because you go Search Sakura, and then by turn 4 you had the 6 lands.
Sure.
So, yeah. So Ken looking at a hand, Valakut, Primetime, Colony Heart, Wooded Foothills, Arid Mesa. I think it had an EE in it, maybe, but I don't know.
If that had an EE, I think you snap keep it.
That's true. I don't know. Okay, so I can't really tell what's going on. There's a Retract, a Mox Opal. I can't tell if I think there is a Pure Steel Paladin. Yeah, it's a Paladin. So Greg, I don't know if he has a land, but he might be keeping this hand.
Again, with a deck, this is a very powerful combo deck with little to no card selection, and you need several pieces of it.
Ken with the ultimate goldfish draw of double. Wow, he's gonna keep this. It's double search 4 lands.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not great. Forbidden Orchard here. And, yep, there we go. Okay, so make a spirit from this, and I will equip... I don't even know what those cards are.
So awkwardly, Greg had to play a bunch of things before.
But he has a turn 1 Paladin.
Yeah.
And I think he has a Retract in his hand.
Not just a turn 1 Paladin, a turn 1 Equip Paladin.
A turn 1 Paladin with a Cathar Shield and something that I don't know about on it.
Mm-hmm.
Ken accidentally... So Ken gonna fetch for a forest to spend a search. He has a 1/1, but it's not doing much attacking. But now, okay, so now with no red source in play, Greg says, fine, let me just retract the... I'll retract those. Storm Count 1. I love the optimism here. Draw a card. Storm Count 3. No, Storm Count 3.
4.
4. 5. Good lord. 6. 7. This is going to be
8.
the most toughness. 9. So I think he drew another Opal. Okay. He's got Opal Grape Shot.
Yeah, he hasn't cast the Opal yet either.
Whoa, is that a Monastery Mentor? Oh, it's a Monastery Mentor.
Oh, Jesus. That seems a little ambitious. And it looks like he might have 2 of them in hand.
Yeah, it does.
Wow.
What is going on in this game? Oh my goodness. So he can like sack his Mox Opal and play a Monastery Mentor, and I think he's like float mana.
Yeah, I think that's what he's gonna go with.
Oh god. Or he's just gonna Grape Shot Ken for like 12 here.
I think this is for 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The question is, does he want this Monastery Mentor badly enough? It says make a spirit, make some. Oh my, he does though. He does. He wants it so bad, but like, what do you do?
This the Monastery Mentor would have been a lot better before you equipped it.
Yeah.
Before you played out all of these things.
So he's just gonna equip the everything onto the stuff though, so that it can't get like bolt. Wow, I think these things are out of like everything range.
Yes,
and he attacks with this, and Ken just like chumps with the spirit. I don't know the size of that Paladin.
I don't know if any of that gives
power. Right? Yeah, neither do I. We should go find out what this first card is. The one with the glare on it. Like not the glare from the lights, but like what if chat knows, we would be so happy. It's the first card equipped under the Pure Steel Paladin. We've got the Kite Shields and the Cathar Shields and the Spider Silk Nets, but we don't know anything else. So like, but next turn, like this is not a non-small clock, right?
Actually, it's not a fast clock at all, right? If none of these things get power, this is only attacking for 4.
Right. Well, but if he starts drawing like this Mox Opal here, right? That's Mega Monk.
Yeah.
And then there's, okay, so he says attack. These things clearly have vigilance. We need to go find out how much this is doing.
Okay.
Ken is just like, wow, this sudden shock is really bad right now. Yeah, big yikes there. So, and the crazy part is if Greg gets a retract off at any point now, like, this Monastery Mentor, like, Ken has a choice. Kill the Paladin or kill the Mentor with the sudden shock. And there's really just, it's, yeah, wow, okay. So they're going to do life totals. Dan is going to figure out how much this actually did. I think he's only taking a couple. But tap 1 mana, tap 2 mana. Opal, trigger Mentor. How much are they attacking? Is there literally no...
It is a 212 and a 213.
All right, good stuff. So Ken at 17 now.
Yeah, and the mystery card was a quarter shield.
What shield?
A quarter shield. It's pretty much the exact same as the other shield.
Oh boy. How do you spell quarter?
No, ACC.
Oh, a quarter shield.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it looks like Ken has a sudden shock for the Monastery Mentor that he's going to play in response to the equip.
That's fine, but
still
now...
will get a monk token, but...
Yeah. I mean, a monk token, that's like a 1/4. Mm-hmm. So like, Greg really needs to draw...
Yeah, but a 1/4 with prowess.
Right. I mean, well, that's the... Mm-hmm. So, and Monastery Mentor also has prowess. So that's the part of this equation that, like, if Greg draws an equipment... It will be very bad even if he doesn't Grape Shot for lethal, because there's going to be a new monk and a new prowess trigger every time.
And Greg has a Grape Shot in hand.
Right.
So the only bad draw in his deck is literally... Well, I guess, like...
Draw land isn't great.
Land is a bad draw, and drawing another guy is probably not great either.
It's not the best. Ken's going to play a Cinderglade and look at this bolt and be like, wow, I wish I could kill these, like... 2 Abilions.
Yeah, so instead I think he's just gonna hardcast a search.
That seems fine. He leaves up bolt mana anyways. Like, there's not... It's not... If I'm Ken now, I'm, like, not really excited. Like, you have to draw Primeval Titan.
You have to draw Primeval, and you have to hope Greg misses for a while.
2 or 3 turns.
Because, yeah, even drawing Primeval doesn't win on spot.
Okay, no, so you have to... Greg has to miss for 2 turns.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so, like, here's the... So, like, the power on board right now is 5. Greg draws... I think he drew a dude. Yeah, he drew another Pure Steel. That's not great.
That's not great.
But, like, this is an attack for 5. It's an attack for 7 if he Grape Shots.
No, because Grape Shot will make another dude.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, anything he does makes a guy. So maybe just, like, attack for 5?
Yeah, attack for 5.
Uh-huh. Ken says block the Monastery Mentor. Greg says cool. Takes 3. Goes to 14.
And at this point, you might as well play the second Pure Steel.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Yeah. One of the interesting things is, like, you have to, with Forbidden Orchard, you have to float the mana, and then... Oh, and wait, Ken... Why are you letting him get away with that? Ken lets the free equips happen even with a bolt in hand?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I definitely would like killing it first. I mean, you're already pretty dead to any equipment, but, like...
Did Ken draw the Primeval? He drew Summoner's Pact?
He drew the Primeval, effectively.
Oh my god. So we might have a game.
Okay, so...
Is this a 2-turn clock? They could just, like, the Primeval Titan will never do damage. Greg checks, make sure he doesn't have Pact of Negation, and says go for the search.
Okay, so once he plays the mountain in hand,
yeah,
he's going to have a total of 5 mountains.
Right.
Okay, so he has to get Valakits here.
Right.
Yeah, and I think he has, because he can't kill anything with.
No, the
with
Valakit triggers are not really going anywhere good.
Yeah. Okay. So.
So Greg, if Greg draws equipment, Ken is like mega dead, right?
Yeah, not close. Because equipments currently draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
Make a mock token.
And trigger prowess for the ones that can attack. But and the thing is like Ken's attacks are not good with the Titan. Like if he attacks with the Titan, fine. He gets, triggers. He'll do 12 damage with Valakit, right?
Yeah. So
He
Greg
drew a
didn't-
retract.
He drew a retract, which is kind of absurd.
Oh no! And this is the end of the line.
I think we're done here.
Good night.
Because I think just the monk token and the Monastery Mentor alone will force blocks.
Oh,
Yeah, this is
my
currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is draw 16 in hand.
gee. He's gonna put another dice on his monk tokens. Like, the thing is, if Ken attacks and does 12 and then does another 8 off of, or another 6 off of playing a mountain, it's not gonna matter because Greg will be at 2 and have a billion monks.
Yeah. Also, so Greg's play, if he assuming he whiffs a lot, right?
Yeah, which he's not. It doesn't look
Which
like.
is not because it would be an absurd number of times to have to whiff. You can just grape shot for put 7 points of grape shot into the primeval and the spirit token, and then just hit him.
Or just kill him with grape shot. This is not going anywhere positive for Ken. These monks are enormous. The monks are 12 12s and 11 11s right now.
Well, and that's before they're equipped up. They're gonna be like 12 30s.
I'll attack you with my 1230 monk. Oh my god. This is insane. Paradise Mantle. Like, he's just gotta not deck himself. He's just got so many cards. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. And of
I mean,
course,
I think you just go for this storm kill, right? Like, it's not. It's like you just kill him with it.
correct.
Oh man.
He's
not drawing any more cards. He's just like Mox Opal. Oh, got another retract. I think we're well past Lethal Storm.
Yeah, Greg is just gonna replay all of this and then grape shot him to death.
And
hilarious.
he's like, make your dude grape shot you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that.
Remembering and point some of them at the primeval side.
K Marchi, I don't know if that's there were. I stopped counting after 14 after Lethal. Greg could have he has probably 4 retract, right? So he could have played every single equipment 3 times.
Because he chose not to dig deeper because it was
Right.
unnecessary, but he could have drawn through the rest of his
He
deck.
could have drawn his whole deck, stayed on 0 cards in library, played every equipment in his deck 3 times, and then grape shotted. So I mean, we're talking 60, 70 storm.
Mm-hmm. Let's not forget there are multiple grape shots as well.
Right. I mean, the question is, you have enough mana, so I mean, you'll automatically find a land. You play another opal, so you could grape shot twice. So we're talking theoretically around 120 grape shot damage if you really wanted it.
But no, you play the opal 4 times, right? No, actually 6 times. Because you get the retract replays, and then you just get you can just play as lowest pedal.
Yeah.
Plus, you have the same in the spirit guides. You can cast all 4 grape shots.
All right.
So
we're looking at 200, 250 storm damage roughly.
Roughly around there, yeah.
Okay. Well, Ken's only at 14, so that's gonna do it. Greg Pino on All In Cheerios. That was entertaining. My goodness, I love when Greg Pino brings brews.
So we got 15 minutes left in the round. Let's see if we can find another.
Yeah. Okay, Marchi, for all the storm players out there, there is hope even with the bans of Right Hand Flame, Seething Song, Probe. I think there was hope before the Probe ban. I feel like the deck was fine. It was bad, but it was not unplayable. I don't know about it anymore. Maybe you just have to play the Electromancer Gifts version with no Probe and more sad. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, these guys are gonna scoop it up. All In Cheerios for the people who either who are watching live or will watch the VOD later. That was something. Just enormously high storm counts coupled with an unbelievably fragile engine. My engine is a 2/2. Yeah, K-Marchi, yeah. Plus the graveyard hate in every deck. You're not wrong. Storm. How we shall miss thee. But yeah, Dan is out of the booth. I'm going to steal his fruit snacks right now. Looking for another match. We do have a lot of grindy control in the room tonight. I know that there's 2 Jeskai decks and 2 Esper decks, and those are just the guys that like I personally know and looked at their lists, so there's probably a game 3 maybe about to start. I don't know. We'll see. Fingers crossed Dan can get us something. Otherwise, we'll hop back in the booth. We'll be talking about new modern, new standard results from Star City Games Open this weekend. Discussing the Pro Tour probably. But yeah, that was a round 1. And Dan has come in and he is sad and dejected and shaking his head, which means that we're going to put the camera on us so that he has to smile. All right, so that was a match.
Yeah.
Cheerios goes really fast, I guess. Like, Ken drew the Primeval Titan when he could have played it, and it just didn't matter.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, you really need a Cheerios deck to, like, lose to itself or to get a little bit unlucky with the draws.
Or, like, play more than 4 removal spells.
Right. If you only have one of the creatures, you can end up losing, right? Because like you're not necessarily guaranteed to keep chaining it.
Yeah, I know. The bricking is real.
Yeah, once you have 2 though, it's substantially more difficult to break.
Well, and the thing is, right, is I think it's important in the deck is like when do you draw the first retract? Yeah. Because the retract is insane.
If you have 2 creatures on board and you play the retract, effectively you have won the game. Right? Like now we're like retract reads like, draw 15. You can't lose if you draw 15. You can lose if you're only drawing like 1 at a time, though.
Right, and that's what happens. Like there's times like we saw in game 2 where the draws just didn't line up off the equipment, and it was a little bit worrying game 3 there when to turn on Metalcraft to play the Pure Steel Paladin on turn 1, Greg had to play 2 equipment first. Right. But then he found the retract and everything was fine.
Yep. Yeah. So the deck, obviously when it draws. When you have the combo draw, is incredibly powerful.
It's pretty ludicrous. Benjamin Barry in the chat, he could play Leyline of Anticipation like Vintage Belcher to play over the top of removal. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but like, yikes. It might be bad.
That does not sound great. You already have enough dead draws.
You have enough draws where you're like, oh, this is utterly useless to me. And I think like Greg might have more, like he has fewer lands, but like what's the card the Lotus Petal on a body is
Wild Cantor.
Wild Cantor? Yeah, like Wild Cantor seems relatively dead. Wild Cantor seems like a great way to like filter your Simian Spirit Guide mana though.
Yeah, it's also
because it's sack at any color.
It's also like you can like precast the Lotus Petal.
Right, or you can. Yeah, I mean,
which I think is effective.
When you're going off, it's mana neutral, right?
Yeah. It's +1 storm, but like that's not really worth a card.
Yeah, no, I mean it's literally just like here's +1 storm. Maybe I'll fix your. Well, I mean, I think that the Wild Cantor is actually like low key very important sometimes because that's what you need to retract with, or something.
Well, it doesn't make. I guess it does make blue, but
right. It makes red or green mana into blue mana.
Sure, and that might be what it's there for.
I didn't know that card existed.
Yeah, you sometimes play it in Belcher.
Which Belcher?
Actually, no, that's not correct. I'm not sure why I know this card exists because that definitely doesn't get played in Belcher because it's not mana positive. I'm not sure why. Yeah, it's just, interesting card. But yeah, looking out in the field, it's a very, very, very good day for the card Choke.
Are there a lot of blue decks running around?
A lot of blue decks.
So if you were going to build a deck to beat this field, would you just be like, I'm bringing a 4th run and 3 of them are main, or would you put the 4th one main too?
Well, it depends on if you're running Dark Confidants or not. All right.
Okay.
But, yeah, a lot of people decided to test out various builds of Grixis, Esper, and and the like.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it does. I mean, Choke is a pretty good card. There's like, it's very unfun to play against as someone who basically only ever plays island decks. Like, wow, dude, nice Choke, like real good. I mean, that being said, like I used to. I mean, I'm the guy. I used to play Blood Moon decks, and it's like it's sort of like choke is the way of green X whatever to fight back against like blue XX control.
Right.
Like it's just, it's disgustingly useless against like other Jund decks or like other green black whatever decks, but it's so very good. It's like, let me like quadruple Stone Rain you real quick. If you don't counter the choke, it's like
Yeah, well, I mean, the mana bases are varied enough now that, sometimes you play choke, you look down and it's like, oh, I have like 2 Colonnades and a Sulfur Falls.
That's a really good feeling, by the way. I have had that happen before where it's like, I'm on Jeskai, and I drew Glacial Fortress, double Colonnades, Sulfur Falls, and then I drew an island and they played choke, and it's like, this is okay.
Yeah,
like,
doesn't matter.
Cryptic's still on point, like, let's rock.
Right.
But,
so we...
Yeah, a lot of blue, though.
A lot of blue. Yeah, so around this tournament, maybe going a little long.
I mean, and you know what? That's like sort of the symptom of blue, especially blue decks where people are like, I'm going to play blue this week because I think Fatal Push is really good in Modern now and it needs to be in Esper colors or Grixis. And then they play Esper or Grixis for the first time and it's like, 8 million years of Magic.
Right,
forever.
Yeah, well, with the slower decks, you certainly need to make a concerted effort to like play quickly.
Yeah.
Because even if you're playing at a reasonable pace,
you're going to take more turns.
Right, if games are going, 20, 30 turns, like, even playing normally, you're just going to hit time a lot.
I mean, this is one of the beauties of playing a Drago list is you put all the pressure on your opponent to make decisions because you go draw, land, go, and then they have to sit and think about do I want them to Cryptic me or do I want them to like Mana Leak me? Yeah. And they have to make that choice like in their own heart before they can on their turn. But yeah, I mean I know there's like at least one of the tap out Esper running around. It's called, I think, Esper Transcendent online. It plays the Narset Transcendent, the Planeswalker.
Mm-hmm. Which is...
has spiked recently because everyone's like, Esper Control! And like, this Transcendent deck had been a thing before Fatal Push, but with the printing of Fatal Push, I see them... I see people like, oh my god, Esper Transcendent is like the next deck. And like, it very well could be. Just like, there is a dedicated group of people who evangelize Esper Transcendent on the internet.
Yeah. Well, the problem with Narset is the same it has in Standard, right?
Right.
It's great if you can play it and they don't do anything about it. It's not so great when you're dead before it does anything.
I mean, so like, okay, let's say you play a Narset, yes. Right?
If you play it on turn 4, it's unlikely you're doing anything else on turn 4, right?
I mean, you're absolutely playing it on turn 4 and plussing.
Yes.
Okay, to be fair, this card comes down with, like, the only Planeswalker I know that comes down higher after a plus is Gideon Jura, right? This thing comes down on 7.
7
is so much!
7 is a lot, and it's very difficult to kill. But, you can just be dead to a lot of things.
I mean, absolutely. Well, presumably, like, you're playing, like, IOK, Thoughtseize, Push... counters, like, I actually don't know how many counter spells you're playing. We can go look for Esper Transcendent lists. Basically so Esper Transcendent, is like, okay, here is a Ross Merriam article about it. Came out a couple weeks ago. So, like, yeah, you're playing, just like, if you go turn 3 Lingering Souls, turn 4 play Narset, like, Narset will probably live. You're playing Thoughtseize, Path, Fatal Push, Inquisition. Like, you're not doing nothing on your first 2 turns to prevent your opponent from doing stuff, right? Like, sure. you have ways to interact.
Right. But, it kind of depends on what the meta will shape out to be.
Yeah.
There are certainly times that favors, like, a lot of these decks that are, like, incredibly slow and grindy. But,
right.
Like... Just for example, this weekend, Dredge was top 16, and there weren't many Dredge players in the field. So, the fact that one of maybe 2 or 3 Dredge players did well, speaks that the deck might not be dead. Golgari Thug has interesting plays with Narcomoeba, for example.
Yeah, putting Narcomoeba on top to rebuy ETB trigger, like to rebuy prized amalgam triggers and stuff. Right. And like, the Dredge. After they unbanned Grave Troll, Dredge wasn't good. It was only after they printed Neonate Amalgam Dredge was excellent.
And not necessarily even Neonate, right? Like, that's just another one of the many enablers you have for the deck. It's really amalgam. Else before, you just weren't able to put enough power on board.
Right. You'd have to, like, rely on Vengevine, which is, like, at best.
But yeah, you know, it should be interesting to see what goes forward. Another card I saw, you know, a surprising inclusion in some of the old lists was Renegade Rallier.
Ooh, yeah.
And Renegade Rallier, that actually seems like a very real card. 3/2 with Revolt, you can like buy back any CMC2 or less card from your graveyard and put it into play, which means that, you know, it can ramp you, which is something that's not, you know, terribly common. Or
crack a fetch land, play Renegade Rallier that turn. Like, it's a dork, basically. Or, I mean, you know, it's better than a dork because it gets you land. But, like, you can also do stuff like...
buy back a Voice of Resurgence. Or, you know, there's quite a lot you can do.
If you're Renegade, if you have a... I saw the list that did the second place Abzan Cord list was playing a Safi Eric's Daughter.
Yes.
Which loops with Renegade Rallier. So, like, if you have a way to abuse ETB triggers, like when a creature enters a battlefield, do X, this is an infinite loop, functionally, right? Because you go sacrifice Safi, Eric's Daughter, and then if someone, like, so someone tries to remove your Rallier, you go sacrifice Safi, put, you know, target Rallier goes to the graveyard, brings back Safi, that sort of thing.
Sure.
So if you have a Viscera Seer and some way to ETB do something, okay. I mean, 4-color Impact Tremors, Dan. It could happen. No, that's actually pretty bad. Don't build that deck, anybody. That's just... But, like, you know, Safi... Renegade Rallier stuff is kind of cute.
Yeah, I mean, Renegade Rallier is just a good value card because, you know, you don't need it doesn't require all that much setup. It's not like, you know, Revolt, bring back something that like died this turn or left the battle this. It's just
and the
buy
thing
back
is
anything.
like the 2-drops in Modern, right, are just so much better.
Well, it's 2 or less, which is
right. I mean, well, that's the other part is like you can get lands, you can get Noble Hierarchs, you can get Tarmogoyf if you're playing them in the same deck.
Right, like you can get any of the. You can also get cute with your build, and you know you can play stuff like, you know, Seal of Fires or like the other seals.
Yeah.
So like it's very flexible, and even more so if you build a deck around it. It should be interesting to see how it is going forward, right? Like there's a lot of competition on like the 3-drop spot because like, at that point you need to be doing something extremely powerful. But,
right, like the question is like, do you play Rallier instead of like Kitchen Finks, like
or like Eternal Witness?
Right, like I mean, so like it depends, right? Like I guess like if you're playing Collected Company or Chord, like Eternal Witness is just better. But if you're playing other stuff or like you want to go for some sort of utility split, like I think it's definitely playable.
Yeah, for sure. It's certainly interesting.
Yeah,
and you know, we'll see how much spice it brings going forward. You know, like again, we're on week 1, and a lot of people are just kind of like modifying like current decks to see is like, oh, maybe I can add, you know, change this up a little bit, or maybe like I'll add a Fatal Push or something.
Yeah. Are you play Jund a lot, right? I assume you're including some number of Fatal Push.
Yeah, I tried a list with 2. I cut a Bolt and Terminate for it.
Okay.
It seemed fine. You know, it's a good way to kill like Inkmoth Nexus.
The fact that Fatal Push kills manlands is super good.
Right.
Like it's not non-land creature; it's just like target creature. So it's like
the ability to kill the manlands is like absurdly powerful. Especially like this is not like a deal damage sort of effect. So like, you know, you can't pump it out of range. Like this is like you need to give this hexproof or it's gonna die.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks like our this round here is wrapping up. We'll throw it to a quick break here and be back within a couple minutes.
5. We're gonna go for we'll go for a 4-minute break. We'll be back in 4 minutes. Stick with us, everyone. Wednesday Night Modern, round 2 coming. We will be back on screen 4 minutes. Alright, and we're back from a short break here at MTG Card Market Wednesday Night Modern. There is still one match ongoing in round 1. It looks like taking turns is indeed taking some turns. And Blue-White Control is just sort of watching, like, please help.
Well, it's much easier to get into counter wars when you're drawing 4 cards a turn, right?
Right? Like,
you kind of start reloading quite quickly. Interesting thing about taking turns, though, and same with, for people who play with Emrakul. If you go to turns, you can end up taking all 5 of the extra turns.
So you remember that one time there was a deck in Standard that was, like, part the Water Veil, engulf the shores, only islands, that played, like, Prism Ring?
Yeah.
So I played that deck, briefly, and by briefly I mean I played it at, like...
One event.
I played it at a second when I went 04. I played it at one event. Well, I played at F&M here, right? And I got into turns with a guy, and I took turns 1, 2, 3, and 5. That was a good feeling. Did win that game. People were real salty, but I won a box with that deck. You can take a lot of turns in a row, even in Standard with Part the Water Veil, although that deck's super dead because Jace's Sanctum isn't in Standard anymore. Rest in peace, deck. You'll be missed. I love just, casting Days Undoing because you hoped that their 7 was going to be worse.
Will these cards be missed, though? I don't know.
I will miss Jace's Sanctum because, honestly, I had so much fun playing with that deck. Holy moly. There's, nothing better than,
I don't know if necessarily any of these would be
you just, made a 12-12 with kicked Part the Water Veils, and it was awesome. Right? You don't have another land to play on your extra turn, so you're just like, cool, Part the Water Veil again, make a 12-12.
Right. Well, if anyone in chat, if you guys are interested in decks in particular,
that's
please
a good
let
thing
us know. We do have a fairly diverse field this evening.
Yeah.
So we will try to accommodate any requests.
Yeah, I think there was. I heard there was Grixis Delver.
Yeah, there's truly a pretty good cross section of just about everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just waiting for the last match.
We can talk about SCG. We had a Modern Classic at the Open this weekend. So looking at the top 8 decks, Ad Nauseam, Abzan, Chord, because it wasn't doing normal Abzan things. It's not playing.
No, it still has the combo kill in there.
There's no Murderous Redcap though.
Oh right, so
this is
just to gain the infinite life.
This is just gain infinite life and then somehow win, I guess.
I mean, you can put infinite power on board with Anafenza and Malira.
That's true. Yeah, I guess you get to scry your Anafenza and then this deck not interested in the red cap, not interested in Spike Feeder or Archangel Athune, just straight up just gain infinite life as quickly as you can. Mm-hmm. Unmovable, I don't know if there are eggs. That might be one that we don't have.
Yeah, eggs perhaps a little too fringe.
Yeah, I mean,
is this the one with Krenko?
Yeah, no, it's Cardclay and Ironworks.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. The Ironworks.
Krenko is a creature that makes goblins.
Yes, the mob boss one. I meant Krenko Ironworks.
Cardclay and Ironworks.
Oh man, I know what the card does. That's the important part. The name, not so important.
Yeah. Also, Kmarchi, I think Slivers is probably not in the cards.
Again, perhaps a little too fringe.
Yeah, I mean, we should see some. Should see some interesting stuff.
Yeah,
though.
we have seen Slivers on camera, I believe, before.
Yeah. No. Collected Company Slivers has been at this shop multiple times in the past. The deck is, if you hit your sliver the Lord Slivers, the Sinew Slivers and Muscle Slivers or whatever, it's just okay. These are 6/6s. This is turn 3.
Yeah, Collected Company kind of enables a lot of ally deck. Even the ally deck is somewhat playable. The older allies are a little bit better than the ones we got in BFZ.
Yeah. But, but Collected Company on top of those is kind of crazy. Also, the weird thing about the Allies deck is you can play, I think you play, a bunch of... You can play Cavern, and there's also the Ally Rainbow Land.
Right.
So you play, 8 Rainbow Lands, so, the mana's, not bad for when you need to go, Hot a Freeblade and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Or, what's the... It's a 2/2 with, First Strike, I think, and ETB. Oh, Kazandu Blade Master, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we should. hopefully that taking turns match is drawing to a relative close soon. We can go back to this deck.
Yeah.
List
Well,
of
I mean,
decks here.
sure. So we can start from the top. Ad nauseam ended up taking it down.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, there was actually a surprisingly high number of ad nauseam decks in the field. I personally played against it twice. Just because, if the field is short on interaction or if they're trying to do non-interactive things, this is one way you can punish that. It does struggle mightily against Infect.
Yes, it turns out that Phyrexian Unlife being a way that you stay alive doesn't actually work against Infect.
Angel's Grace also not particularly.
You will die before you can cast a spell on your turn, yes.
Yeah, so your ways of not dying just don't apply.
Right, yeah, but people may for whatever reason have been playing less Infect because of pro bannings.
The pro banning, yes.
I mean, and potentially more 1-mana removal spells in the form of Fatal Push.
Yeah.
But we've also got in the
nothing too particularly exciting about nothing too exciting in the ad nauseam list. 2 Crovax, but
I don't. Do you think that's real? I know that there's been. Theoretically, this card is what SCG is reporting was played in the board.
Yeah, I mean, I can see this if you thought there might be a lot of I don't even know, maybe this seems, I'm just going ahead and say this seems questionable.
I mean, it's either questionable, but SCG has also been known to make little typos in their sideboards before, so I wouldn't be surprised. Apparently,
I can't think of a scenario where I would want to board this in as ad nauseum.
Right.
I can't think of a single scenario where this seems good. The fact, if it costs 2 or 3, which is what I thought originally when I looked at it, I was like, oh yeah, seems to be 3. Sure.
No, this costs 6.
It costs 6, which is a lot.
Which is quite a lot. Okay, so then we saw that Abzan chord list that we talked about. Then we have a Goryo's Vengeance list, doing, put Gristlebrand, put World Spineworm into play sort of things.
A pretty stock list.
Pretty stock. Moving to 4th place, we have Affinity.
Again, fairly stock. There is a Bitter Blossom in the sideboard, which is...
Bitter Blossom in the Affinity sideboard seems real spicy. They'll never see it coming. Also great plating carriers,
Right. But, yeah, again, these are kind of the flex spots that you can put anything in.
Nope, it is real. It's been in boards, but it's not super common. What exactly does this card do? In terms of, what creatures are we killing with it? I guess... Oh, wait, this card just kills all the Infect creatures. This is this is the equivalent of...
This is your Knight of Souls Betrayal.
But wait, why not just play Knight of Souls Betrayal?
Yes. Why not just play Knight of Souls Betrayal for 2 less? Isn't that the double black even matters too? Because your mana base should be able to support that.
Yeah. I just I'm confused as do you need if you're Adnos, do you really need the 4/4 body?
That just seems so unlikely, right? In what scenario do you need the body?
You have to hit them because they have a ley line or something.
But the ley line doesn't matter because you have Echoing Truth to bounce them.
I mean, not wrong. And we're looking at pairings here for the next round. Every time he's on camera. You could get the Chinchi one. This one.
Give us 1 second. We're finding a match here.
This seems... They both play well.
Okay.
Oh. Okay, non-nope has the answer, Dan. It's because Crovax doesn't die to Nature's Claim. That's actually really good. This is why we're not Adnos players. Or why we're bad at playing Adnos. Because I've definitely attempted to play Adnos a couple times, and it's been like, why is this person even touching these cards? Interesting. I guess, like, it gets dismembered, but you just bounce it and replay? Huh. Plus, you have acceleration, so you can play it on, like, turn 4 off a prism. Yeah, no, I mean, Krovak's Ascendant Hero, given the education that I've just received from Twitch chat, seems like a reasonable choice in ad nauseum sideboards. I'm not sure I would have believed myself to have said that sentence if you had told me that I'd be saying it tonight, but okay. We're going to throw it down to the play overlay, though, so I can get the, oh, and they're, okay, you know what? Yeah. Alright, Nando, making good points about the sideboards. Yep, that's seems pretty right. So we're gonna go, yeah, to the play overlay here. Let me reconfigure the life totals and stuff. Get everything cleared up and all set for round 2. So 50 minutes on this timer. 3 on this timer and start it. Yeah, so this should be. We're getting 2 pretty good players this next match. Not sure which side they're going to be on, but should be a pretty good round 2 here. We have a decent crop of players at Card Market. You know, no one who's like winning GPs or anything, but people who are, you know, making the Pro Tour sometimes, definitely doing well. Okay, so it looks like this match already started, and it looks like we've got Burn on the right against something with a Prairie Stream in it on the left. Okay, and this is not... This is... Okay, so this is... Who are we watching, Dan?
We're watching Sam Feldman play against Leonardo Ramirez.
Okay, and who is on Burn?
Leonardo is, I believe.
Okay.
He's playing against Blue-White Control.
This is interesting. A lot of this matchup predicates on can Blue-White Control draw their, their Blessed Alliance.
Yeah, and this looks like a slower version of the deck. Sam, I saw, you know, had Detention Spheres in hand.
Wow, okay, yeah, so D-Sphere probably a little bit slow.
Yeah, so this isn't, I'm not sure if this is the Mariolist. I didn't... Oh. Is that a Sun Titan he just drew?
Yeah, it's the Mariolist.
Okay, so this is the Mariolist. There is a lot of incidental life gain in the main deck of this. If you draw any of it, you know, if you draw your Lone Missionaries, those are insane against a Burn.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like Sam has one here, and Leonardo's going to get to untap. He might have kept a one-lander, it looks like, but he's also holding like 4 Lightning Bolts. So he'll play a Swift Spear here, which I like, and he'll get in for 3 more damage.
All right, we're gonna
trigger from the guide,
a
Flooded Strand. Yep. And we'll go to 15 here for...
and we're going to play Ambush Viper here.
So we're going to trade here and go to 17 instead.
Okay. Yeah, and depending on the context of your hand, a lot of times this is, you know...
Yeah, I wasn't aware. Most of Mariolists are not playing Snapcaster most of the time.
You can certainly include a couple.
This is a good draw, though.
A Wall of Omens is a good draw. Sam can also choose to go with the Detention Sphere route.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that Leonardo, until he draws another land, isn't double spelling, so it's going to be difficult for him to do anything. But, yeah, here's a Wall of Omens draw card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then...
if he draws a land, though, it's not the worst. He can just play another Swift Spear and Bolt.
Right. If we can clear... If Leonardo can clear the blockers, he can still force through quite a bit of damage.
That's an Atarka's command. That's good for forcing it through.
Right.
He needs another land, though.
Yeah, so, I mean, at this point, you know, you just play the Swift Spear and just attack with both, get in for 1.
Right.
There's a small chance that Sam... No, there's a 0% chance Sam doesn't block this.
Yeah, I mean, you just put him to 16, but... You know, if Sam doesn't draw, like, his life gain, I mean, that's a negate, which is pretty good. But if he doesn't draw his life gain, he will just get burnt out eventually.
Yeah, I mean, the target's command is really a absurd with Monastery Swiftspears.
Right, because it gives your creatures +2/+2, so it'd be like a
And
7. Ooh,
yeah.
but this is where the D-Sphere is crazy.
Yeah. The D-Sphere, Sam is getting rewarded for playing the Wall of Omens last turn. And now Leonardo's hand is, it's all burn, and I think he has enough. If he draws a second land, which he does,
Yep.
He can feasibly just burn Sam out. But this is going to assume
It's going to take a while.
This is going to take a while, you're right.
And it also, without the creatures, a Tarkos command is just bad bolt. I guess you can use it to Skullcrack if he plays like a Lone Missionary. Another negate drawn here, which is, again, like, that's just good. That just trades 1 for 1. It lets you keep sort of go towards your game plan. Leonardo will fetch end of turn.
The thing is, Leo's deck is much more threat dense, right? So you, unless you start drawing into things like Snapcaster, you aren't winning this like 1-for-1 game.
Yeah, that's true.
At least in the the very short term. Obviously, even if we go into like the mid game, you're just gonna get outdrawn.
Mm-hmm. And we'll see what happens here end of turn if Leonardo wants to double spell bolts or if he just wants to fire off his Atarkos. I like holding the Atarkos until there's like a Lone Missionary on the stack.
Yeah, you just have so many cards in hand. You might as well start getting rid of some of them.
Yeah, he says bolt you. Sam thinks about it. I mean, the thing is that Sam actually has a faster clock here because if Sam just plays a Sun Titan next turn,
a Sun Titan buyback the Snapcaster
just as another 8 points of power.
Yeah.
Leonardo says bolt you with the second bolt, and Sam thinks about it. I like throwing the second negate here. Just like, it's not going to get better probably, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
it's about as good as it's going to get, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing that
and now
Leo
there's another land.
Yeah. There's nothing Leonardo can play here, even on 3, that would be, like, absurdly backbreaking that you wish you had negate for. Likely, it's just going to do 3. Boral's Charm will do 4, but...
So Searing Blaze will target the Wall of Omens and deal 3, so Sam will go to 13. Mm-hmm. Leonardo, thinking about the last bolt, instead says go ahead. Sam says fine, fetch at 12. Yeah. So, like, the thing is, Sam just plays Sun Titan, and then it's, like, 4 attacks, 3 attacks if he buys back the Snapcaster with it.
Sam can also just buy back the Flutterstrand he got.
That's true.
Which is, just... You can leave the Snapcaster in for, like, if you can flashback, maybe, like, a removal spell. You can play that for much cheaper.
This is true. And now we...
Is that a Ghostly Prison that was just drawn?
I can't tell. I think it's a Thraben Inspector on the close part of the hand. Yeah. So it looks like another fetch here. We'll bring Sam to 11. And this is... the incidental damage does matter. There's 6 points in Leonardo's hand right now, though. So, like, it's going to have to be a lot more incidental damage to matter.
Right. And that's the thing. Like, right now, Sam doesn't have a way of just preventing Leo from just killing him if he goes runner.
Yep. Why, this is the Sun Titan. Sun Titan buyback Snapcaster.
Target something. No mana to cast it, though.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Bolt you to 8.
Mm-hmm.
Untap. Did he draw a creature? He drew a Copperline Gorge. Okay, so that's not great.
So
he has to go runner still.
Yeah, Sam's clock is currently 6, so Leo
and there's another negate in hand for Sam.
Yeah.
These main deck negates are paying off pretty big. He's gonna say Ghost Quarter your Stomping Ground. In response, this will be the Atarkos command. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the reason the Ghost Quarter is played is so that Sam can re-Ghost Quarter.
Right.
Yeah, I think the only modes on this that makes sense are going to be...
and there's a Remand. Ooh, that's pretty good.
But the Remand's not that good, though, because since Leo got Ghost Quartered, if he just...
does a search?
Oh, well, there's no basic forest in this deck.
Right, but does he have another... is there a third basic mountain usually? I thought there were usually only 2.
If Leo fails to find it here, I think he just loses the game on the spot, right? Because he's going to get Ghost Quartered again this turn.
Yes, I mean, he still has the Copperline Gorge.
Oh, that's fair. He does...
This is an attack for 8, though.
Yeah, attack for 8, buy back the Ghost Quarter. Unless Sam needs, 4 mana, I assume the play would just be the Ghost Quarter.
Ghost Quarter your other land, yeah.
Yep.
And now it's just strip mine every turn. So the Copperline Gorge actually somewhat fortuitous. Thraben Inspector gonna get played here.
Yep.
Standard All-Star. Actually just like massive standard All-Star. Yeah. So good in standard. Gonna make a clue. Back on Leonardo's turn. Ooh, wow, he's only 1 point away from dead. With the Snapcaster Sun Titan attacking, and so he drew a Rift Bolt. Okay. I'm not sure that's a spending. I mean, he's just going to get Ghost Quartered again, right? Yeah. So, I like a Tarkus commanding here. You get Ghost Quartered, you suspend the Rift Bolt and hope that you draw something. You hope you draw 1 mana burn spell, yeah. Like Lava Spike, I guess. Here's the attacks.
With the Tarkus command in hand, I don't think there's any combination of cards that Leo could have that will allow him to.
Yeah, and that's looks like it's gonna do it. Well, no. So if he went instead of
also let's not forget this is attack for 9 because of the Thraben Inspector.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Okay. So that is just a lethal attack. I miscounted by 1. All right. So that's gonna do it for game 1. Leo Ramirez going to go down a game against Sam Feldman. So this blue-white list very much capable of punishing a slow start, even with no life gain from the burn deck.
Well, I mean, so what was surprising about this game is Sam didn't draw a single instant speed removal spell that entire game.
Right. I mean, he did draw like triple negate.
He drew triple negate, which was excellent against a hand that was very slow.
Right.
If Leo had hit a second land, he could have emptied his hand fast enough that the negates would have been stranded a lot of the time.
Absolutely.
But yeah, all in all, not the most favorable matchup for burn, especially one with a main deck, or at least in the past, main deck Lone Missionaries. Some of these decks have Ojutai's Command. There's a lot of incidental main deck hate.
The thing is that Sam's main deck is a little bit different just because, like, the Remand and the negates are not something that you typically would see pre-board from Emeria.
Especially a triple negate, which seems incredibly aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're, like, really afraid of losing to Liliana of the Veil.
Yeah, and perhaps aggressive's not the right word.
It just
optimistic?
It seems bold.
Yeah.
Right? Like, negate does not counter Tarmogoyf, but I guess, like, your creatures just block Tarmogoyf until you play Sun Titan, right?
Do they know? Because Tarmogoyf is usually a 4/5. And Wall of Almost does not block that well.
Well, I mean, you just have enough creatures that you just, like, abyss yourself to the Tarmogoyf until you play Sun Titan. Like, it's not great, but, like, that's a thing that I've seen Emeria do multiple times, right?
Well, yeah, because the creatures are usually, they cycle cards that are fairly disposable.
Yeah, we'll see. There is a Ghostly Prison in the board there for Sam. You wonder if Leonardo's going to bring in Destructive Revelry.
Mm-hmm.
But
I would imagine that he would bring in Destructive, especially you saw the Detention Sphere.
Against D-Sphere it's really good.
Yeah, if you're aware of the matchup, there are cards like Mortar Pod that could also be just in the main deck.
Yeah.
Things like that. And that's not to, that's not even to begin talking about, if Sam has the Leyline of Sanctity. Like, there's a lot of reasons to bring in Destructive Reverie.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, players getting ready for Game 2, there'll be a bit of sideboarding. If you're Burn in this matchup, do you cut stuff like Wild Nacatl, do you think?
I think so, just because...
Wall of Omens is so good.
Yeah, maybe perhaps not on the play. On the play, you might be able to get under a lot of these things, but certainly on the draw, it's significantly weaker, especially against the blue-white deck that runs a lot of removal. You sometimes even run cards like Oust.
Oh, sure. Looks like the camera froze briefly there. We'll kick it up to the booth and then kick it back down to the play area. See if we can get the feed to come back up. That
looks like we might be
experiencing some minor technical difficulties. Yeah. I'll try one more time. All right. Fingers crossed. Ooh, that's not great. What do you think? Reboot the software?
We may just restart the stream real quickly.
This has happened before, but restarting the stream has generally fixed it in the past. We'll be back. It'll probably be about 45 seconds to a minute or so. But we we do need, unless, because our camera is just currently giving us no feedback. So yeah, we'll be back in 1 second, guys. Stick with us.